Welcome to another review from the Four Corners of the Board with your host, Graeme Anderson. Hello everyone, this is Graeme Anderson from Four Corners of the Board. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Food Chain Magnate. This is a game about running a fast food restaurant set in the 1950s. This is a game where you get to make all the decisions. Where to open your restaurant, who to hire, what to produce, and where to advertise. Now, it's a heavy game from a company called Splotter, and they only make a game every couple years. Now, there is no luck in this game. There's no randomness beyond the initial setup of the tiles that you're going to place to determine the neighborhoods. And after that, any mistakes or bad luck are your own fault. For that reason, some people love this style of game, and for other people, they find it very frustrating. So, which camp do I fall into? Well, let's get to the table. I'll give you a very brief overview of the game. I'm not going to go through all the rules because it is a fairly heavy game. Then we'll come back and I'll tell you what I thought about Food Chain Magnate. Okay, here we have Food Chain Magnate set up for a 4-player game. Now, I'm not going to do the entire overview at this distance, but I did want to give you an idea of how much real estate this game actually takes up. And I'm going to quickly go over the components at this level, and then I will pause and we'll get down to more of a personal level where you can see how the game is actually played. So the first thing we have over on this side here are all the milestones. These are generally first person to. So it could be the first person to hire 3 people in one turn, or the first burger produced, or the first pizza marketed. Whenever someone does that on their turn, they're going to be taking one of the cards. Once that turn is over that someone has claimed one of these cards, then these cards, the rest of the cards go back in the box. Only the people that complete this milestone on one turn will get an option to take one of these cards. And these cards are extremely powerful during the game. They will give you a permanent bonus to the rest of the game. For example, the first pizza produced means that you get to actually cook 1 extra pizza. Now, you know you can't see this, but that's the idea of it. So each milestone will give you something correlated to that milestone. First person to sell a drink is going to get bonuses to drinks. First person to hire someone is usually going to get a bonus for future hiring. So you never want someone to get too many of these milestones before you start getting them. The main section of these cards here are all the people you can hire and run your business. They go right from the waitress to serve the food, to managers, to pricing people, to recruiting and training people, to collecting drinks around the board, to the marketing people, to the people that are actually going to cook. And they all work from the left to the right. And there is an upgrade path to it, and on the bottom of every card, we'll show you what it can be upgraded to. So for example, management trainee, we'll show you at the very bottom here what they can be upgraded to. When you hire someone, you can only hire someone that has one of these little arrows on it in the top corner here. That shows you that this person can be hired. Everyone else, basically from everyone here over, has to be trained. And again, we'll get into these as I talk about the different phases of the game. There are also the advertising section here, which is all the different ways you can advertise. And you must have one of these advertising people to put out advertising. And there are 3 different types of advertising. You have billboards, you have mail marketing. Actually, sorry, there's 4. There's billboards, there's direct mail marketing, there is aerial, and there is radio. There are also extra buildings you can put on the board, and you can actually have extra gardens for the places that are already on the board. There's a set number of money here. It's basically $50 for the person per person that's playing it. You then have all the goods that you're going to be producing. Over here, you have pizza, hamburgers, Coca-Cola, beer, and lemonade. Then each person is going to start with their components, and I'll get into that a bit later. The only other one thing I want to say during setup is that some of these cards, the ones that have the 1 X on them here, means that there's going to be only a certain number of those based on the number of players. So for a 4-player game, there's actually only going to be 2 of these cards available, and the last card will go back in the bag. Anyway, I'm going to pause here. We're going to come in for a close-up view of the randomized table, the game board that I've set up here, which is a 4x4 grid for 4 players. And we'll go through each phase and tell you how this game is played. Okay, so I have downsized the board to a 2-player game, and we now have the 2 players. I also want to tell you that this is going to be a brief overview of the rules. I'm not going to go through all the rules just because there is a kind of a lot to absorb, but I did want to give you the feeling of how this game actually operates. At the beginning of the game, you're going to be given the CEO. This represents you, and it even says you on it, and it gives you a special ability, and you are working all the time. You never get a day off. The other thing you're going to start the game with are 3 reserve cards. You're going to get 3 restaurants that you can potentially open, and you're going to be getting a turn order tracker. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our reserve cards. And these reserve cards have 2 pieces of information on them. They have a dollar value and they have open slots. These open slots will come into play, and the dollar value will come into play when the bank busts for the first time. So when the bank runs out of money, because at the beginning of the game, remember, there is a set number of money based on the number of players. When that runs out, it busts. You're going to then turn the cards over, and you're going to see how much money goes back in the bank and how many open slots are on your CEO. Because under the CEO, you see that this currently has 1, 2, and 3. It means 3 people can report to the CEO. When the bank busts, you get to determine how many people can report to the CEO after that. So everybody's going to decide basically how long they want the game to go. Do you want a short game, which means you're going to be getting 100, or do you want the game to go a bit longer, so you want to 300? It's up to you, and even before the game starts, you have to make the decision. So let's say I want it to be a short game. So I'm going to take my 100, and it's going to go into the pile. The other 2 cards I don't need anymore, so those can be placed off. The other player is going to do exactly the same thing. Let's say they're going to take 200. So we now have a pile of reserve cards. Those are put off to the side until the bank breaks. And I will mention how the bank breaks a bit later as well. Now we're going to take our turn order pieces, shuffle them up and place them on the turn order track. And you need to place your first restaurant. And we go in reverse order. So blue is going to go first, then purple. So you're going to take one of your restaurants, and the restaurants have 2 sides to them. They have an open, where it says welcome, and they have a coming soon. But you also notice that there's a little black corner on all of these. That is your front door. So those front doors must be on a road so that people can actually get in your front door. So since blue gets to place first, let's say they're going to place it here. So they're along the street, and then purple is going to, let's say, play it down here. Again, you can't have their doors on the same tile for the initial placement as someone else. So the next thing we're going to do, we are now ready to play. You start with no money and a restaurant that's just open. You are working there all by yourself. We're then going to do the first phase. And there are 7 phases, and I'm going to go quickly through them and just spend some time on 2 of the phases, which are the most important ones. So the first thing we're going to do is called restructuring. That is basically taking all your cards back into your hand that are still active. And there is some people that are kind of busy, like marketing people, and I'll get into those a bit later. But essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to have all the cards in your hand. So let's take this person, and you're going to decide which ones are going to be active this round and which ones are not active. So you're going to make 2 separate piles face down, and the ones that are active are called your active employees. The ones that are not active are called on the beach. And you can almost think of that as vacation. They're on vacation. They're still working for your company, but they're not working right now. The first round, the only thing you have is the CEO, which is you, and the CEO is always part of your active. So let's just say you had a group of cards here. So you're going to take all the cards into your hand during restructuring, and you're going to say, okay, these are my working people, and I have no one on the beach. I have no one on vacation. You then open up your cards, or take all your cards, and you are going to build your corporate pyramid. And the way you build it is you notice these slots. So the CEO can have 3 people reporting to him. So I can put 3 cards underneath him. And one of the cards I have is a management trainee. He's got 2 open slots. So he can have 2 people reporting to him. So let's move this out of the way. Let's say I want an errand boy and a marketing trainee reporting up to the CEO, and reporting up to the management trainee, I'm going to have a recruiting girl and another recruiting girl. So I built my corporate pyramid. These are the people that are going to take effect this round. Anybody who was off on the beach are still part, but their actions don't count. So I have no cards for this CEO. And then we're going to determine who's going to go, who has the first choice to determine what turn order they're going to go in. You look at how many open slots there are. So again, there's 3 slots here and 2 slots here, but they're all full. So I have 0 open slots here. This guy has no one reporting to him, so he has 3 open slots. So the blue player would get the option to pick when they want to go on the turn track. So let's say they want to go second. Let's say they want to keep this order. But they have the first choice. They can pick wherever they want on the turn track that's available. Because this is a 5-player game, it can go up to 5 players, but since it's a 2-player game, he gets to choose either first or second. If there is a tie between the number of open slots, then you look at the current turn order track. So if we both had 0 open spaces, then purple will get to choose first because purple is first on the turn track. So we've restructured, we've done now order of business, we now know that purple is going to go first. So purple is going to perform their entire corporate pyramid now. And we're going to do it in a very specific way. So this order will happen on everybody's turn, and everybody's going to be taking their entire turn at the same time. The first thing you're going to do is recruit employees. So you notice on my CEO, it says hire 1 person. And on my recruiting girls also say hire 1 person. So I can hire up to 3 people. And I'm going to use the very, very useful player aid that comes with this game. This shows you all the people, all the employees that you can have. And on the back is actually the milestones, which we'll get to at the end of the game, end of the walkthrough. So all the people you can recruit, you can only recruit new employees, like entry-level employees. And they're all designated down here, and they all show this little black arrow on them. So as you can see here, everybody I have on the table currently is a employee, a recruited employee, because they have the little black arrow in the top corner, which means they are entry-level positions. The other very handy thing about the player aid is it also shows you the progression of the employees. So you can see that this management trainee, which I have, can be trained to become either a luxuries manager, a junior vice president, or a new business developer. And that is also shown on the card itself. That shows you those 3 options down there. So that's the first action you're going to always do. You're always going to recruit. Whenever you recruit someone, you're going to place them in your on the beach area. The second thing you're going to be doing is train. Now, I don't have anybody that has the training action, but if I look at, if I had, let's say, the trainer gives me 1 train action. You can only train people that are on the beach. You cannot train people that are currently working. These people are working, they need to run your business. They don't have time to be trained. But the people on the beach, they're on vacation. They can be trained. So let's say my management trainee was on the beach, so he'd be over here. I could train him, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take him, I'm going to put him back in the card pile, and I get to bring out the new business developer. And again, he goes on the beach because that's where he's going to be trained. So once you're finished training your on the beach employees, you're going to be initiating advertising. So you look at my corporation here. I have my marketing trainee who says I can place a billboard for a maximum of 2 durations. There is also a limit of how far away from my restaurant it can be done. So I can place a billboard. So I'm going to take my billboard, which is here, and there are different sizes of the billboards, and I'm going to place it on here. So I'm also going to now decide what I want to advertise. So advertising will affect the houses that it affects. So in the billboards, it's the adjacent ones. So the billboards will tell the adjacent people what they want to eat. So let's say, and I know I want to make hamburgers at my stop. So I'm going to take hamburgers, and I'm going to say this billboard is for hamburgers, and it's going to run for 2 rounds. So I place 2 hamburgers, 1 for each round. And then I'm going to take the corresponding number token. See, that's the billboard number 11. I'm going to take the number 11. I'm going to place it on my marketing trainee. He is now busy. My marketing trainee is now busy, and he cannot be used again until the marketing campaign is over. There are 4 different types of marketing, and the higher your person is trained, the better the marketing is. So there are mailbox campaigns, which have a little mailbox, will affect all the houses within a city block, which is surrounded by the roads. You can have an airplane, and the airplane is placed beside the board, and it basically works along a strip. And again, these are different sizes, so you could have wider ones or shorter ones. So this one, let's say I want to do hamburgers again, it's going to affect those 2 houses because it's running along that strip. And the last type of thing you can do when your marketing guy is trained all the way at the top is radio. And radio you'd place on a square, and it's going to affect houses in a much wider area. So once we've initiated our marketing doesn't happen. We've just We've just put up the billboard. It hasn't taken effect yet. The next thing we're going to do is get food and drinks. So we're going to look at our, again, we're going to look at our corporation, and we're going to see all the people that can get us food. Now, in my organization, I just have the errand boy. And the errand boy says I can grab, it says get 1 drink of any type. There are 3 different types of drinks in the game. There's pop, there is lemonade, and there is beer. So I can take any one of these. Let's say I'm going to take beer, and I'm going to deliver it to my restaurant, and it's the purple restaurant. There is also, again, if I look at my handy sheet here, there's like the kitchen trainee who can produce 1 pizza or hamburger, which are these. Or you can upgrade them or train them to become a burger cook or burger chef and get more of the food. The other way to get drinks as well is you have the errand boy, and you can get cart operator, truck driver, or Zeppelin pilot. Again, it's still a matter of getting drinks, and you're going to be getting drinks based on here. So the errand boy can get you a drink from anywhere. The other ones will, basically you have to drive from your restaurant to pick up the drinks from on the board. So once you have produced the food in your restaurants or the drinks in your restaurants, the next thing we're going to be doing is placing new houses or gardens. And my new business developer, again down at the bottom, says place house or garden. So if I had him in my corporation structure, I could use his ability, and I can either place a house, a new house. As long as it fits on the board, I can place it. So let's say I want to place it here. Or I can add a garden to a house that does not have a garden already. And what gardens do is they double the amount of money you're going to be getting for each food item. So let's say I want to add it here. So now house number 5 has a garden in it. So if I can get number 5 into my restaurant, they're going to be giving me double the food. The last thing I can do, the last action we're going to take during this phase is, I don't have the card here, but you can see that there's a local manager or a regional manager. The local manager allows you to place a new restaurant, and when you place it through a local manager, it's going to be on the coming soon. So let's say I had them here, and I'm going to open them here. And the local manager, there's a certain distance away you can do. For the regional manager, they can place a restaurant anywhere on the board, and it starts open. Again, I'm skipping over a bunch of rules, but just kind of giving you an idea. So now we are done our business day. So we have hired and trained people, we've produced food, we've started our marketing campaigns, we have, got new houses. So now we need to feed the people. Now it's 5 o'clock and it's dinner time. And what we're going to do is we're going to be evaluating the houses in numerical order. So we have 2, 5, 12, 14, and 16 currently on the table. So we'll start with 2. 2 right now doesn't want anything because no marketing has affected them. So let's say that they have a beer on them. So someone in the house wants a beer. And you know what? Just for sake, let's say both restaurants are serving beer. So normally if there was, let's say there's only 1 beer on the table, they will go, if they can get to it, to your restaurant to drink your beer. So what happened is they come to your restaurant, you remove both their desire token and your inventory, and you would get $10 for the beer. Now again, there are cards that are going to be in your play area that will affect how much money you get, but the base value is going to be $10. Again, if they had a garden on them, then it's going to be doubled to $20. Let's say though that both restaurants have beer, and the people will only go out to eat in a restaurant that fully supply or fully satiate what they want. So they just want beer, 2 restaurants have beer. It then comes down to a combination of cost of the item plus the distance they have to go. And the distance always starts with 0. So they will go 0, 1 space to get this beer for $10, or they're going to go 0, 1, 2 spaces to get this beer. Both beers cost the same amount, so for them it's just going to come down to distance. They're closer, they get to serve the beer. So blue would get $10 as opposed to purple. Now, if they wanted, let's say, a beer and a hamburger, neither one of these places serves hamburger or don't have any hamburgers in stock. Therefore, they're not going to go out to eat. They're going to keep their food there and they're still hungry, and maybe tomorrow they'll go out for something if there's a local restaurant that serves what they want. Now, that's a very kind of quick overview of that phase. It really comes down to fulfilling what the people want with the supply in your restaurant. And the thing I should note though, is that you need to go in order. So let's say this family here wanted a beer and a hamburger, and you had a beer and a hamburger in there. So you really want to sell both of these to this group here, because you're going to get $10, $20, and double that to $40. That's good income. But because 2 goes first, and let's say this person's not going to produce beer, so you have a beer that this person wants, even though they don't want a hamburger, they're going to come and buy your beer. So you're going to get the $10 from them. Now when it comes down to 5, 5 wants beer and hamburger, you only have hamburger left, they're not going to come out, they're going to wait. So you always have to be careful of the order that the houses go in, and making sure that the house that you want to come to you will have the goods to buy from you at that time that they come up. So that is dinner time. The next step is payday. You never pay yourself, and all of the employees that are new recruits don't get paid. But anybody that's in your corporation, so that's either in your working or on the beach that has this dollar sign on it, must be paid $5. And there are ways to reduce that based on unused slots. Some of the cards will reduce that cost, but everybody must be paid $5. This is also the time that you can fire people. Before you pay anybody, you can decide, you know what, new business developer, I don't want you anymore, I'm going to fire you. You put them back on the cards table, and you don't have to pay them. So you fire people, you pay anybody that's left that's got the little dollar stack on them, and then so that phase is done. Then you go on to the actual marketing campaigns. So you look at all the marketing campaigns on the table. Right now we just have the one, which is advertising hamburgers to the houses connected to it. So this house is connected to it, so this house gets influenced by your marketing. So that house now wants, and you place a hamburger on it. So they now want a hamburger. You go through all of the different types of marketing that are on the table, and then each marketing gets down by 1. So this started off with 2, so now that comes off. So this has 1 round left. Once all the marketing has been done, it now comes the cleanup phase. Any leftover food you have in your restaurant is going to basically rot and gets taken away. And you're going to take all your cards that you have, both from on your beach and in your workforce, and you're going to make your new pile again. Because this marketing guy is still working on this marketing, he does not go back into your pile. He's still an active employee, he's still part of your organization, but he doesn't take any slots, he's not on the beach, and he's not in your corporation. So you're going to take those back into your hand, and then you are ready to go to the next round. So you're going to take these back into your hand again, decide who's going to work, who's going to take a vacation day, set up your corporation, determine the turn order track, and go again and again and again. If you need to get money and the bank is empty, it's called breaking the bank. And this is going to be the way the game ends. The first time the bank gets broken, you're going to turn over these reserve cards, which is the very first thing we did. And you're going to be refilling the bank with whatever the dollar values are here. So we'd refill the bank with $300. You're then going to look at the number of open slots people have voted for. Whichever one has the most votes for it will be the number of slots your CEO now has. If it's a tie like it is in this situation, you're going to take the largest one. So now the CEOs will stick with 3 open slots on them. When the bank breaks for the second time, the game is over, and whoever has the most money is the winner. The last thing I wanted to mention was milestones. Again, the player aid has a very handy milestone track here, and these are always kind of first 2. So if I look at one of the examples here, we have this milestone. It says first to hire 3 people in 1 turn. You get this card, and it gives you a permanent bonus down at the bottom here. On the turn that this is claimed, those cards will go away. So only the people that claim it on the same turn will have this milestone. So if you miss it, if you're a turn late, you can no longer get this milestone. So these milestones are very important. They give you big bonuses, but there's a very limited window to get them. So if you and a your competitor are both working towards the same milestone and he gets it, you want to make sure that you're getting it on the same round or you're out of luck. Next round, it's gone. Anyway, that is a very brief overview. I've not gone through all the rules for Food Chain Magnate, but hopefully I've given you an idea of how this game plays. So let's get back to the table and I tell you what I think about Food Chain Magnate. Well, what camp did I fall into for this game? I loved this game. So much so that after I played this game, I went out and bought the only other Splotter game I could, which was Roads and Boats, and I've actually pre-ordered one of their reprints because I was so in love with Food Chain Magnate. Now, I do have the first edition of Food Chain Magnate, and there were some very minor issues with it. Luckily, they have those fixed for the next reprints, and I actually was able to get an upgrade kit for mine to make it better. Just minor things. The player aids weren't up to the German version of the player aids, and some of the tokens were misprinted. But other than that, they fixed everything. Now, why do I love this game? I love that there's no randomness in the game. There's no dice rolling, there's no card pulls. Everything is out on the table at the beginning of the game. That initial set will determine how the game flows. I love that if I do poorly in the game, it's because I did poorly. Not because my cards didn't come up, not because of some dice roll, but because I planned poorly. That being said, some people of my gaming group, or the podcast, don't like that. They don't like that if you make a mistake in the first or second round that you are behind the 8 ball for the rest of the game. And the game is long. The box says 2 to 4 hours, and I'm finding it's usually about a 3-hour game. So if you are out in the first couple rounds, you could be sitting there for 2 hours, basically being behind the 8 ball while you see people who made the right decisions get ahead. Personally, I like that. Now, I also like the player interaction. This is not just a solitaire game. You are having to watch what all your neighbors do. When they're producing food, where they're advertising, can you sneak in? Can you undercut their food prices? Can you have the luxury food items that people would want? I love that. I also love being able to advertise stuff that they don't produce to the people that they're trying to get to come to the restaurants. I love the fact that there are milestones in this game, but you can't let someone run away with those milestones. If someone has 1 or 2 milestones more than everyone else, those are a distinct advantage. I like that you can both get the same milestone on the same turn, but then if someone gets a milestone this turn, next turn it's gone. You don't have the option to get that milestone again. Now you better be working on your own milestone or you're going to be out of luck. Those milestones are extremely, extremely powerful. I love the way even that you build up your company. The way you have the CEO, and the CEO can have 3 people, and then it all filters down from there, and you can basically build like a corporate pyramid structure. There's just so much I like about this game. I like the theme. I like that everything is thematic. The player aids look like menus from a diner. I love that. So as you can tell, there are many, many things I do like about this game, and there are 1 or 2 things that I could see what other people have issues with. There is a steep learning curve, not to the game itself. I mean, the actions that you're doing aren't that complicated. And you're going through the same phases every round. The difficulty that people seem to have is the steep learning curve to the strategy. If you do not have your strategy down from before you hire your first person, you're going to be out of luck. And new players are at a distinct disadvantage against people who played this game before. You really need to be playing this with the same group of people and they can learn together, or play with people that have played the game as much as you have. The more you play it, the better you're going to get, the more you're going to be able to kind of develop your own strategies. But it is a steep learning curve for the strategy. And also the time. I mean, this is not just a light filler game. You're looking at 2 to 4 hours. And like I said before, for me, it was taking usually about 3 hours to play this game. But for me, that's a very enjoyable 3 hours. Even if I'm in last place, I'm trying to figure out how to kind of dig my way up to make sure that my food chain is more profitable than other people. I like also that you can plan it so the last couple of rounds is when you're making all your money, that all the previous rounds are just kind of set up. There are very many different ways that you can approach this game, all with the same goal to make sure that your food chain stores are the best. It's a wonderful game, but I realize that this is not going to be a game for everyone. If your gaming group does not have other people that enjoy deep, heavy strategic thinking games, this is probably not a game for you. But if you do enjoy deep, heavy strategic games and you have other people you can play with, I would definitely recommend getting Funcheng Magnate from Splotter. Anyway, as usual, thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching another review from the Four Corners of the Board. Please like and subscribe to these videos. You can also follow us on social media, email us directly, or check out our website at fourcornersoftheboard.com.